Welcome to Dose with Grace. Hope you're doing well and taking very good care of your health. Today, we are going to start with the chapter 3 of Bhagwat Gita. For all those who have been following these videos, you know that we are doing chapter by chapter learning of Bhagwat Gita and slight discussion and anecdotes from our real life. So, it would be highly recommended to you if you begin this video, if you begin watching my videos from here, I would recommend that you please go back to the previous video and listen to the chapter 2 first. It is divided into two parts, part 1 and 2, because Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 is the longest, also because it is the most condensed and most comprehensive knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, entirety of almost Bhagavad Gita in that chapter. So there is Gyan Yoga, there is Nishkam Karmi Yoga, there is Indri Vichhed, and so many more methods towards self-realization in chapter 2. That is why chapter 2 is also called as the essence of Bhagavad Gita, or as we call it, Bhagavad Gita ka Sar. So I would highly recommend that before going to the video of chapter 3, please go through the videos of chapter 2 or Bhagavad Gita, or you can read chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita by yourself and then watch this video. So you will be able to be in the right frame of mind and in the right context to be able to receive this wonderful divine knowledge. So let's begin our video with the chanting of these two very powerful and blissful Mahamantras. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you for joining back. So let's begin with the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. The chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita is also called Karma Yoga. We all are aware of the word karma. Most of us have heard about it, have some knowledge about it, and our own perception about it. Karma, simply said, is called action. So what is Karma Yoga? Well, we will have to go through the entire chapter to fully understand it. So let's begin by just deciphering the word. So karma is action and yoga is to reach God. Action that can make us reach God. That is the whole chapter about. This chapter is having 43 shlokas. It is a much smaller chapter than chapter 2. So I will just give you a prelude to what this chapter will have. From shloka 1 to 8, there is discussion or there is knowledge from Sri Krishna about the significance of Gyan Yoga and the Nishkam Karma Yoga, which has been already shared in the chapter 2. Unattached, selfless and unmotivated daily actions. Now, unmotivated and is a word that is also used in Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. So unmotivated here doesn't mean that there is no motivation. Unmotivated means without any motivation of results. Whenever we do something, we do with a certain motive, and that is what is called Sakam Karma Yoga, if the motive is good. And if the motive is not good, of course it's not called a good action itself. But an action that is just done in the service of God It is not under any personal motivation. So unmotivated by any personal need, desire or greed. So shlokas 9 to 16, they give us knowledge about the necessity of yajna or yajna related karma. So what is yajna in general, and what is yajna in today's world, and what are yajna related actions or karma. Shloka 17 to 24 talks about the significance, need, and the responsibility of performing worldly duties prescribed ones by even those who are enlightened and the God Himself. So the value, the significance, and the importance of karma by everyone. Shloka 25 to 35, these are shlokas that give us the indicators, what we call in Hindi as lakshan, or signs of one without knowledge and one with knowledge, the signs of jnani and agyani, and inspiration for working without attachments or aversions. And finally, shloka 36 to shloka 43, they teach us about getting rid or removing kam, which means lust, greed, or desires from very subtle places where it resides. So let's start with the third chapter, तीसरा अध्याय of Srimad Bhagwat Geeta. Please give me a while. I will take a sip of water. So, the third chapter actually begins with a prashna, with a question by Arjuna to Sri Krishna. As we go back to the chapter 2, it ended with Sri Krishna giving Arjuna Gyan Yoga, and understanding of liberation by fully residing in absolute knowledge. So then Arjuna is now, since he has received so many methods and disciplines to understand the true understanding of consciousness, Atman, through so many methods that are told in chapter 2. Like I said, chapter 2 is almost the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita, which are Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Indriya Nigrah, and Nivid Sthiti, which means the state of being sane, samanya, at every situation. Now, all these methods are very, very high disciplines, and to understand them at this point is not so easy for Arjun. So he poses this question as the first shloka of the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He asks Sri Krishna that if you believe that buddhi, which means intelligence or knowledge, is greater compared to the sakam karma yoga, which means good deeds, then why are you appointing me? He said, आप मुझे इस तरह के भयानक कर्मों में क्यों लगाते हैं? So he's asking God. He knows that Sri Krishna is God, but also his guru, his guide, his friend. So he asks, if that is in your understanding or in your knowledge, if buddhi is higher than doing the Nishkam Karim Yoga, then why are you putting me through this? Why are you appointing me to do this kind of a warfare, which is full of violence and full of pain and suffering. And this is such a terrible karma to do. So then Sri Krishna smiles and he tells Arjun, and he says that I have already told this. So in our next chapter, which is chapter 4, we will understand why Krishna said that, because Bhagavad Gita has not been narrated for the first time on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It has been also, this knowledge has also been given to mankind before, but that is for chapter 4. So he says that I have already told before that there is a clear path, there is much simpler and clear path that he has explained to people. So but now Arjuna's question is directed more towards understanding a step-by-step method. So in fact Arjuna represents as a metaphor all of us, that we can't straight away get the knowledge that God is giving us. He says that you've given me so many methods to reach liberation, but this is making me little confused, or the right word he has used in, he has used is isse meri buddhi mohit ho rahi hai. So he's saying I'm getting little mesmerized with all of this knowledge. So can you give me a clear path and clear instructions as to how I can do what is in my highest good? So he asks that I'm confused. What is it? Is it the stillness that is contained in self, like sannyasi, which comes through only knowledge of the highest accord, or can I achieve it through active service, which means karma? So to that Krishna answers that I have always said before also that there are two types of faiths in this world. One is the Gyan Yoga and one is the Karma Yoga. Now what is Gyan Yoga? Gyan Yoga is the path of knowledge for those who are inclined towards contemplation. There are Gyanis in this world who contemplate and they go into deeper recesses of knowledge. And that is itself a form of, it's a very well laid path in that for those kind of people. And then there is Karma Yoga, a path of action for those who are inclined towards actions which are out of devotion or service. So they are action oriented people towards devotional action or service. So Krishna says, neither through giving up or turning away from our duties or from the renunciation of our duties, one can get success or siddhi. Siddhi means achieving something to its ultimate form. Everyone is always doing karma under the influence of three gunas of nature. So as long as we are alive and we are in participation with nature, like anything that is born in this world is under the influence of three modes of nature. Chapter 14 is a very detailed account of what are these three modes of nature, but here to give it very briefly, and I would just mention it, and as we go further in this journey in chapter 14, we will go in complete detailed understanding of these three modes of nature and how it affects us, what is the nature, what is the behavior, what are the choices of people under three different categories or three different modes of nature. So first is the Sattva or Sattvic nature, mode of nature. The second is the Rajas or Rajas mode of nature, and third is Tamas or Tamasic mode of nature. So Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. So whoever has mastered the five senses of karma, but the thoughts are always in the pursuit of those matters, are liars. So Krishna says that just by renunciation, because Arjuna asked, is the path of stillness or just contemplation or the path of action? So he says that if somebody just withdraws their senses from the work, from their actions, but in the mind are always thinking of the things that they want to do, the things they want to have, the things they want that are pleasing to them, they are liars. That is anyway not possible to renunciate your actions, but those who pretend it, they are liars. But those who have learned to control their sense pleasures through investing in the right devotion and doing their duties with this method are great. So there are two types of people he is explaining here. Those who say that they have controlled their five senses, they are not into indulgences, they have sort of taken a renunciation from the world, and they don't do their duties because of that. Those people are liars, because in mind and in their heart they are always seeking those things. Their mind is wandering into those things. Let us give us an example of a very simple example. Sometimes people who are very much into this mode of thinking, but then action wise looks like they are very much in their stillness, is, let's say somebody keeps upvas or a fast on a day, and they are thinking, I'm doing something very very sattvic, and I am controlling my senses and my desire to eat. I'm giving up on food, and I'm doing something really great. But they might be opening their phone and scrolling through reels and reels of food, street food, gourmet food, and in their mind they must be just thinking, when can I have my next fruit, when can I have probably some chilla, when can I have some potatoes, all the things that are allowed in fast. But the real purpose of upvas is not to give up on the just food, it is to give up on the desires. So the shloka after that explains that one who has learned to control the sense pleasures through investing in right devotion and their duties with this method are great. So if you're keeping fast because you want to give rest to your desires, because you want to invest into higher things than your basic appetite, which can be partially met through fruits, but you are investing into deeply contemplating on God, on higher sciences, that is the real purpose of upvas. Or if you're doing it generally for the well-being of everyone. In next shloka, Krishna says, so we must all do the work assigned to us. Doing is always better than non-doing, and non-doing is anyway not possible to even stay alive. Just to stay alive also, we need to do our daily rituals. If we don't bathe, if we don't brush our teeth, if we don't keep our surroundings clean, if we don't cook our own food, if we don't consume it, if we don't do our basic duties and chores, we cannot even live in a healthy and sound body and environment. So it is not possible to do our karma, not possible to not do our karma, even to just stay alive. Do your karma. So Krishna advises, do your karma. But he also explains that any karma has good or bad consequences, and both of them binds us. Now there is a great myth among people. They think that if I'm doing good karma, then I'm such an elevated person, I'm an evolved person. Yes, you might be doing good karma and you will get good benefits of it, but that will also bind you as much as doing bad karmas. With bad karmas, we have bad consequences and we have to face them, and while facing them, we might get bewildered and we may do more bad karmas, and we get bind through this cycle of karma. Same goes for good karmas. Whenever we do good karmas, we get fruits of it. We get benefits as a consequence, which could be a good birth in a good family, good status, good well-being. So when we have that, we are attached to achieving more and more of it. So that also binds us. both are equally binding. So, if we do any karma just as an offering to God, just as our duty, because karma done according to dharma frees us. So, when we do our karma, and dharma means duty, as our duty to whom? Duty to the consciousness, the one that is supreme, the one that has given us this opportunity to exist in this world. When we do karma for as an offering to the supreme, then that karma is not attached to any bondage, because it's not attached to any consequences that we are looking forward to. We should do our karma only for this purpose. Krishna says, not for happiness or pleasure, or to avoid it, or to have any displeasure. You look at so many people around you, some who are working in conditions which are not pleasing, some who are working in conditions which are extremely pleasurable. Now, if we choose our profession, or we choose our life just based on our choices, which and those choices are dependent on just our self gratification, then mostly nobody will choose a work which is difficult to do, which is inconvenient and non-pleasurable. Let me give you an example. We live in a society here in condominium. And I walk in the morning and I see around quietly everyone doing their own job. I feel one of the most difficult works in the morning is of the cleaners who take the garbage from the chutes. When I'm passing by while walking, it is stinking. It is not at all pleasurable, and they're wearing big long gloves and taking out things which may even hurt their hands. But thankfully, due to gloves, they are protected, and they are taking out things which like stale food, because that has been lying inside the chute for the whole day, and it is definitely not something beautiful to look at. It's been done during the broad rays, sunlight, very very hot and humid weather, and they have to wear that gear just to protect themselves, so that makes them even more hotter. They are sweating like anything, but they do it every single day in such a beautiful way that every day, once they finish their work, the chutes are clean and ready for people to dump their garbage once again. And they do it 365 days, 24, every single day of the year, regardless of any festivals or even rainy days, very humid and sunny days. Now imagine, this is one of the most menial and probably unpleasurable work. And if they stop working for even 2 days, imagine the amount of stink this beautiful condo will be filled with. All the beauty, all the landscaping, all the pleasure of living in this condo of those people who are having a great life will be disturbed, will be interrupted with this dirty smell around them. No matter how beautifully your house is furnished, how expensive and luxurious your interiors may be, but if there is constant stink coming out from the windows, no matter how much you shut them, it is bound to come, because it's air. Then imagine the work which is considered to be the most unpleasurable. It is also equally important for all of us to live a very healthy and very hygienic life, and that is what brings beauty into this condo. So that's what Sri Krishna is saying. We should do our work. Nimit means something that has been assigned to us. So whatever work that is assigned to us, if we do it with as an offering to God, if we do it with that pleasure, with that devotion, then that is the thing that frees us from the bondage of any consequences. Now in next shloka, there is a reference to Prajapati. He was the king in the beginning of times, when the first humans came into existence. In the beginning of the human creation, Prajapati had said, do yajna, actions as offerings to God. What are yajnas? They are the actions which are as offering to God. Most of us understand yajna as a pile of wood around which a lot of sannyasis or rishis sit and they chant mantras and they offer to Agni Devta, the fire god, a lot of offerings in the form of ghee, some naivedya, fruits, flowers, um, some kind of prasad, and there's a lot of chanting that happens, and there is so these offerings are given to different um, gods or devatas, as we call it in our Sanatan Dharma, to please them. And Prajapati, the god of the in the beginning of the times when humans existed, he had recommended that do yajna to enjoy the human life and return to the lordship, which means by doing these kind of rituals and with full devotion, we are all these offerings were generally coming from the people like who are kings or merchants. So basically all their earnings were getting purified by doing these kind of um, spiritual rituals. And he says, but in Kali Yuga, Vedic Shastras have prescribed Sangha Kirtan Yajna, as other type of yajnas will be difficult to perform in this Kali Yuga. Now, knowing as the age passes, as the time progresses, people have become less and less conscious and less aware of this constant love and devotion to God. So, and it will be explained further how what has put a wheel into our understanding or has covered our knowledge, which was existent far more prevalent in other yugas like Sat Yugas, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga. Whenever we do yajna, it pleases the devtas and they bestow us with prosperity that will create living bliss. So, in Kali Yuga, it is prescribed, just like in Sat Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, there were sacrificial fires created in the form of yajna. Lot of Mahapandits were called, lot of mantras were being chanted. People used to keep fast for many days until the yajna will finish. Amazing amount of delicacies were prepared to offer to gods, and all that was done with lot of love and devotion by the rich, by the people who were like kings, who were responsible for making sure. And those yajnas were performed not just for the self gratification, though those yajnas were performed for the kingdom in whole. For example, those yajnas were done to please the rain gods, to bring surplus rain during the monsoons. Those yajnas were performed to bring ample sunshine for great crops. That is why during the reign of Prajapati, the earth was sumptuous with the great flora and fauna, and there was so much for everyone to enjoy, and they were living in great prosperity. However, in Kali Yuga, since the consciousness has also become very dense, and therefore the higher concepts are not easily understood, it is prescribed even in Bhagavad Gita to do Sangha Kirtan, which means collective chanting. So chanting is considered to be as good as yajna in to reach God and to please gods in the age of Kali Yuga, which we are living in now. Offering food first to God and then having it was the best way to free from the sin. We all are dependent on food. Now this is something that Krishna explains, and it is so beautiful that how he explains it in a very contemporary manner and so relevant even today. I don't even need to make it give an example of today to explain this, as it is so beautifully explained in the shloka itself. And this shloka has been narrated like 5,000 years ago. We all are dependent on food. Fact. Food is dependent on rain and sunshine. Fact. Those who are dependent, and those rain and sunshine are dependent on yajna, and yajna is dependent on fulfilling our daily duties. So, what is yajna? Truly, what yajna means is fulfilling our daily duties. Fulfilling our daily duties gives rise to yajna. That yajna gives rise to the balance of nature. What is the balance of nature? The perfect balance of rain and sunshine. And that balance of nature gives rise to the food, the flora, the fauna, the great crops, the harvest, and that gives rise to a healthy and prosperous life. So you see how our daily karma is so important in the cycle of nature. In Vedas, our duties are prescribed. What are Vedas? Vedas are the divine guidance to live life. These Vedas are created by God Himself. That means in our divine duties lies the Brahman. Now, Vedas, there are 4 Vedas in Sanatan Dharma: Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, and Atharv Ved. And they are the teachings given which are prescriptions towards how to live life. They are so detailed and so amazing. For example, Samved is the prescription is has the ancient notes of music. So all the music that is created in the world is Samved. The origin is Samved. Ayurveda comes from Yajurved, and all the principles of yajna, the Krishna yajna, and the and the and the rituals that we do after death are in the Atharva Ved. So all these are in the Yajurved. So all these knowledge, even trigonometry, geometry, all this is in our Vedas. So understanding how to live life, how to conduct yourself in society, what are the duties of our life in first 5 years of our life, what should we be more inclined towards, next 25, so 100 years of human life, the duties and responsibilities are so beautifully prescribed in our Vedas. And what are these Vedas? They are the divine guidances from the God Himself. So in these duties, which are created by God Himself, lies the Brahman. So when we perform our daily duties according to our Vedas, we are actually living the divine consciousness. We are living according to the guidelines of divine consciousness. That is why it is said, whoever doesn't follow the cycle of yajna, he certainly is living a sinful life and a useless life of mere pleasure seeking. And we know how many people who have achieved everything in this world, name, fame, money, status, huge houses, everything. I mean, they have said that, for example, Jim Carrey has said that I want everyone to achieve everything that they want, to know that that is not the answer. The books like A Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So there have been people, and in unison you'll understand, their voice has said only one thing, that mere pleasure seeking is not an answer. Even if you keep climbing the ladder, even if you reach at the highest level of your career, wealth, prosperity, you will be so empty inside. But one who's soulful, has knowledge of true nature of existence, is satisfied in himself, and that person doesn't have any personal responsibility to fulfill, because all responsibilities that person understands as a divine responsibility, and not just personal responsibility attached to one particular identity they are trying to protect or keep with so much of passion. Such a person is not left with any need for any daily duties, or does nor does he have any reasons to not do any duties. Such person's life does not depend on anyone. So this is the explanation of a person who is fully understood, who's fully understood the divine knowledge. That person doesn't do anything as a personal obligation or a personal choice or a personal desire to achieve something in life. They do not feel motivated due to any personal desire, nor do they feel demotivated to not do their daily rituals. So such people are not dependent on anyone. That is called absolute state of freedom and liberation. So those people who are attached to working should become detached to their work as a duty to God. They should work to reach God. So instead of attaching ourselves to our work as an identity to protect, if we do it just as an offering to God, that is the right way to do our karma. So he's explaining, he's giving not an example of a mere commoner, he's giving an example of someone who has so much wealth and so much high position and status in society. For example, he's given an example in this shloka that kings like Raja Janak, we all know Raja Janak, he was the father of goddess Sita. So he's saying kings like Raja Janak have reached God by simply doing their daily duties in the service of God. So here is a very, so these are not philosophical ideas. He's giving example of people and not example of someone whom we don't know. So these are example of the people he also knew that history will remember. So all people are also capable of reflecting upon his life, the way he operated as a king, and do the same. So here Krishna is saying, when someone who's a leader, who's at that position, or any human being who's righteous, known for their known for their karma as a service to God, the conduct they do in society becomes an example for everyone to follow. And the whole world starts to emulate that doing or an act, especially if it is someone like a leader who people know and has elevated himself to a place where people look up to him. Whatever that person does, that person sets an example for everyone. And those examples are followed generally by people who commonly live in society. So Krishna says, dear Arjun, in any capacity, he says, Tino loko mein, in any capacity, there is nothing I have to do or I desire or I have scarcity of that I cannot get. Yet I do my everyday duties with great enthusiasm and in great consistency. So Krishna is giving his personal example to Arjun that why do I need to do my karma? There is nothing for me to perform karma for. I don't have any desire. I don't need to get rewards. I don't have anything that I desire and that is not at my disposal. Yet I do my daily duties with great enthusiasm and with great responsibility. That is because if I don't do carefully, responsibly my duties, then everyone who follows me will do the same. This is what he meant by setting the example right. If I don't do my daily duties, all life will get destroyed. Now let's give an example of a family. Let's say the head of a family. Head of a family, whoever it is, it could be a matriarch or a patriarch, they set the standard for the rest of the family. How many families we have seen where the head of the family is not doing their own duty? So this gives a lot of freedom and a lot of leeway to others to also become lazy and procrastinate. Whereas if the head of the family, the person who sets the standards for the family, is very, very righteous and performs their duty with so much devotion, so much peace, and so much of enthusiasm on everyday basis, they can even path correct other family members just by being in their company, just by gaining from their wisdom, so many others in the family can also get into the right path. So this is what Krishna is, and Krishna is a god. He's saying even God has to perform for, because people look up to God. People are looking up to the examples set by these avatars that came in the form of Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. And he gives an example: if I don't do my daily duties, all life will get destroyed, because he is responsible for creation. He is responsible for preservation. Then, due to my disbalance or this irresponsible uh, discharge of duties, a lot of disbalance will be created. I will be responsible for the unrecognizable and this irresponsible creation. This way, I will be the cause of destruction of all life forms. So Krishna is saying that is why even I am bound by karma. Even I have to perform karma. Let's take a very simple example of a scientist working in a lab. He is also working on certain project which he has conceived. So he has created a project, and now he has to go through that process of the project. So let's say a scientist working in a lab is like Krishna working in consciousness. Now, as the scientist is probably working with a certain sample, the scientist has to take care that the right temperature, the right humidity, the cleanliness, the hygiene, the separation of contents is properly maintained, so that irresponsible reactions don't happen. The petri dishes in which the samples are being preserved or kept, the droplets through which he's transferring it, all have to be hygienically, cleanly, separately kept. If there is going to be any contamination, it can lead to irresponsible creation. And that is why sometimes we said, for example, COVID-19 virus was created through an irresponsible creation in lab. One of the conspiracy theories said that. So that is what Krishna is referring to, that if I am not doing my duty in a very responsible way, I will be leading to irresponsible creation, and that can cause destruction of life forms. In next shloka, Krishna explains, just the way a jnani person does all of his duties for a desire for results, similarly a jnani person should do their duties to take people to the right path. So here, as from now on, we will hear from Krishna that what is the difference between the people who are doing Sakam Karma Yoga versus people who do Nishkam Karma Yoga, and why that is more superior. A wise person should not give a guidance to not do duties to those who only perform them for the desire of some result or the outcome, but rather direct them to do their duties with devotion, so slowly their consciousness can also elevate. There are many people in this world who are very highly motivated with passion, rewards, achievements, and that's why I said this Karma Yoga chapter is very applicable to every single person, from kindergarten, who's even in kindergarten, to those who are even about to die after 2 minutes, because even they are desiring something. They are desiring moksha, those who are almost in their last few minutes of life. And child who is in kindergarten is going to be constantly bombarded with expectation from parents, teachers, and therefore it is very important for us to educate ourselves first before we teach our children. एक जो पाठ हम पढ़ाते हैं ना बच्चों को अचीवमेंट का, उससे पहले we must learn the part of doing selfless service. Our daily rituals, our chores, our personal rituals to take care of our health, of our body, our hygiene, our duty as a student, our duty as a professional, our duty as a housemaker, our duty towards societies. All these duties are prescribed in our Vedas to be done not for any reward seeking, not for any appreciation, but as a duty in the service of God. As a human existence, these are our duties. So only a jnani, which you say, in person who has no knowledge, will performs these duties in this for the sake of appreciation or reward or a positive outcome. Whereas the Jnani people, the people who are truly knowledgeable, they do it as a service of God. Whether or not it leads into results, they just perform their duties. Now, in the next shloka, Krishna says that Jnani people should not tell others who are in the pursuit of all these duties with great vigor and passion to not do their duties, not discourage them, but let them perform their duties. But time to time, whenever they are in contact with them, or whenever they have a conversation with such people, just remind them to do it so with a little devotion in their heart, so that slowly their consciousness can also rise. The living beings, us humans, are under the influence of ego, ahankar, when we believe I am the doer of all my duties. Whereas all duties are being performed by us through these three gunas, the three modes of nature that I said in the in the early shlokas. The three modes which are sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic of the nature. So one who fully understands the eternal truth. And what is the eternal truth? That God and we are one consciousness, and our existence, this physical existence, is a reduced manifestation of the eternal Brahman. Doesn't do duties for only personal gratification, sense gratification, or personal gratification in terms of name, status, identity protection, or money, or any pleasure seeking, but for performing duties as a nature of being its true eternal being. As an eternal being, we are performing our duties as our duty to ourself, our existence. He or she understands the difference between doing work for good results versus doing work as an eternal divine duty towards God, because doing will always continue. This body will change, this life will change. We all know, we all take birth and we all die, and the life continues. The Atma continues its journey. So our duties continue with us. So therefore, our doing is definitely never an option. It is always going to be there. But doing duty as a service to God is what is the true understanding of eternal consciousness. Under the influence of the three gunas of nature, people do many actions which lead them to great name and fame of society, and they get very deluded by their identity in society. I wouldn't need to give an example, but if you really look around, maybe within your own family, look at people who have do great actions, and because of those great actions they are blessed with great name and fame in society, and because of which they have got deluded and they start believing that they are the doers and they have been so blessed and they are so distinguished, and that kind of delusion is so visible in them. And Krishna says that those who are very aware and soul conscious must not disturb such people and do their own duties for higher good peacefully. They can keep doing their spiritual work through their quiet and gentle work that can inspire those people also towards higher consciousness. You see, there is a time for everyone to they say there is a divine grace that has to come for you to also get into the path of divinity. So if someone is so caught up into this whole cycle of name and fame and status, and they really think themselves to be so great, it is very difficult for them to have that humility to understand that this is not this is under the influence of the three modes of nature. Whatever is happening even through them is not happening by them. It is, there is a much deeper uh, plan that is working through them. And in further chapters, we will be understanding this in far more detail. But here, Krishna is emphasizing that those who have knowledge, they shouldn't um, disturb such people. So there is no point to go and give unsolicited advice. Rather, those who are aware, they can continue doing their soulful work in their own peace and their own they can continue with their spiritual path, and through their work, through their what they are doing, and look, just by mere their presence, these people, other people who are working in the mode of passion, are going to be also spiritually elevated at the right time with the grace of God. So, Arjuna, leave the results to God. Give up the desire for results and bring Nishkam Karma. Do without any laziness and full awareness of truth. So now Krishna is telling Arjun that knowledge is to give up the desire. Knowledge is to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. And knowledge is to do it without any laziness, knowing that it is my eternal duty. And with this awareness of truth, now you do your karma. Anyone who performs or lives life dedicated to all these actions to God with complete surrender and without any jealousy, they become free of bondage of karma. So if he wants to be free from karma, the right way to be free from the karma is not to renunciate, like Krishna said in the first few shlokas. He said, neither by running away from your karma or by renunciating your karma, you can achieve any. You can be free from the bondage. The right way to be free from bondage is to perform and live your life dedicating all your actions to God with complete surrender in God and without any jealousy, without any desire of a particular outcome in your mind. Then you are free from the bondage of karma. Whoever doesn't faces a lot of suffering and are self-destructive. Now this is a very, very simple way to understand this. Is just, let's see, we think that, oh, this makes no sense. If I have no desire, why will I work? Just imagine if we attach desire to work. Suppose we are having an exam and we study hard, and if when we take exam we have studied really hard, and maybe in that exam a question comes which has been slightly out of the range of what, no matter how hard we study, and for some reason the outcome is not that we are getting full marks, which is the outcome we desired and we set as a goal before we started studying for exam. How many times it has happened in our life that one such episode of one certain subject has made us little believe that we are weak in that subject, or demotivated us, or this is one test I'm talking about. There could be some competition that we are preparing for, and if we don't win it, we just give up on that. Not just we, the people around us tell us, okay, it's not happening, so maybe this is not your thing. Yes, choosing different pursuits is where you can probably cut down, but your daily rituals, here we are not talking about something that he's choosing as a game to play or something. Here Krishna is telling Arjuna about a prescribed duty as a Kshatriya, as a future king. He has towards his kingdom, towards the people of his kingdom, to win this battle, to at least participate with full enthusiasm in this battle and give his best shot against Kauravas. So whatever is our prescribed duty, for a teacher to feel demotivated just because some students are mischievous in the class, is not the right way to be. They must give their best regardless of what the situation is. Similarly in other professions, similarly in a student life. Everyone works according to their nature, as we are under the influence of nature. So, refuting actions or just running away will not serve us anyway. So, once again, Krishna is saying refuting our actions or running away from them are not going to serve any one of us, not the person who's doing it, and not in general the matrix around us. All our senses and sense gratifications create attraction or aversion. We should try to observe according. Yeah, so here Krishna is explaining that there is in our Shastras, there is an explanation of yamas and niyamas. So there are five things that if we adhere to, and five things if we um, avoid, are the basis of making sure how we control our own senses. Our senses are the five senses through which we interact with the world. So most of us are aimlessly and unconsciously interacting too much with the world, and that is affecting our feelings and emotions, which is affecting our intelligence, and that is why we are indulging in certain pursuits which are aimless and which are causing more and more suffering to us. So here Krishna says our senses and sense gratification, that feeling to fulfill the wishes, creates either attraction or aversion, and we should try to observe the yamas and niyamas from our shastras, the acts of shastras, for not being slave to our attractions and aversions, which comes in the way of soul consciousness. Now imagine if you're always living in a reactive mode. Something makes us happy, so we are doing more of it, and something that we find unattractive or we hate it, and we run away from it. And we sometimes don't even decipher that if what I'm liking and not liking, where is it stemming from? Is it stemming from any understanding of truth, or is it just because I'm into this whole cycle of sense pleasure? Just because it doesn't look pleasing to eye, it is not good? Not necessarily. Some things that are very pleasing to eye can be very harmful to us. Some things that are very tasty can be very harmful to us. Neem is very bitter, but it is very healthy for the body. So similarly, so these shlokas are to be fully contemplated upon and understood. One should do their own duties and according to them, to their own nature. Any imperfect self-aligned duty is still better than doing something that is not one's duty. Now in Vedic Shastras, there are 4 different types of categorizations that were given in our for our society to live in a very healthy and harmonious way. And that categorization was not done by birth, it was done by our gunas and our prakriti. So gunas means our virtues, the way we are, and the way we interact with the world. So those were Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So someone who is of a certain nature, they would fall in that kind of community. And so doing your dharma according to your nature is what Krishna is saying is prescribed according to our shastras. And doing that duty, maybe even imperfectly, is way better than doing duty of someone else's dharma. So for example, now here Arjun is a Kshatriya, he's a warrior. If he starts becoming a Shudra, if he starts behaving like, I will go and be a servant to my dear brother Duryodhana, and I will let him be king, and I don't want any conflict, I don't want to fight any battle, but I will let him be king, so there will be peace. And what will happen as a result? Duryodhana is full of arrogance. He probably will be a very, very arrogant and self-centered king. And if Arjuna is coming out of his own dharma and performing someone else's dharma as serving Duryodhana in whatever way he wants, that will be uh, really destructive for the society as well. And that way, he's not even fulfilling his own dharma. So, that is one example to show there can be many. Whatever your nature is, there are some people who are inclined towards just gaining knowledge and sharing knowledge. Now, if you tell them to go and do something very physically into sports and all, they may not excel in that. So, doing your own dharma, first understanding what are my qualities, what is my guna, what are my qualities, and then working, performing your duties according to your guna is considered to be the greatest according to Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna then asked Krishna, this is the shloka 36 of the third chapter, and it's a very, very important question posed now by Arjuna. Then he says that why do people do sin or papa or indulge in bad activities? Under what influence they do such acts? It feels as if it is someone who's forcefully making them do it. Now, in recent years, there has been many, many acts that we can maybe connect this question with the war that happened, which was so unexpected in these times when people can nicely talk and world is a global village. But there was a war that was waged between two countries, and it caused a lot of pain, suffering, and destruction on both ends. The irresponsible creation in a laboratory led to a virus which created so much devastation in all over the world. Similarly, there are many people through their speech, through their actions, or through their wrongful thoughts incite people towards wrongful actions. So Arjuna is asking that what makes us do such things? If we have this knowledge that all these things are good, how we, it almost looks like someone is forcing those kind of people to for making them do it, so Krishna says, Arjuna, and it's a very, very important question in today's times, not just on big things like I just mentioned, but also on day-to-day basis. What makes us sometimes so vengeful? What makes us sometimes dislike someone so badly? What makes us do certain acts? And I'm sure each one of you, including me, have done so many acts in our life. If we want to go back and we want to erase them, because we know those were not good acts. So what makes us do this? So Krishna says to Arjun, and it's a very important answer for all of us to remember. The reason is lust. The reason is greed. The right word that is called calm. The reason, it's the calm. Calm. So there is dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. So calm also means desire, calm also means greed, calm also means lust. And that is one of the doorway to hell. And hell is not a place. Hell is straight away right now. If I have desire for something which I'm not able to get, I'm straight away in hell. Because I'm in misery, in constant pursuit of getting it. And the more time elapses, the more my greed increases, and it becomes more and more. So I'll just explain this very beautiful shloka said by Krishna. It says that its reason is calm, which we can understand as lust, greed, or desires that gets created due to rajogun. So that mode of nature that creates that desire, lust, or greed, what we call it as calm, that is rajogun. It then takes the form of anger. Now, whatever you desire, if you don't get it, what do you get? Anger, which is all-consuming sin, an enemy in the world. Now, think of the examples that I gave you: the war, the outbreak of virus, the improper speech, very provocative speech. Where is it stemming from? Anger. And where is anger coming from? Calm, desire of something, either desire of that position, desire of acquisition, desire of whatever. And if that is not fulfilled, that leads to anger, and anger is the all-consuming sin. according to Bhagavad Gita, an enemy in the world. Just the way smoke causes fire, just the way smoke covers the fire, dust covers the mirror, and womb covers a fetus, same way lust or this calm, the desires cover our soul. They cover the understanding of soul. The, the true understanding of who we are is we are soulful. We are a soul in a human body. But these desires cover it, and we say, I am, and then we have 500 identities we attach to ourselves. I am a daughter, I am a mother, I am Aarti, I am so educated, I'm this, I'm intelligent, I am so spiritual. All this is a veil to cover the true knowledge that I'm just purely a soul. And that is why everyone is exactly the same. At soul level, we all are same. Only our identities differentiate us. That is why we feel we all are different. This way, a great soul is pure consciousness remains covered, and this everyday enemy called lust or greed or desires, which never get absolved or satisfied, they keep burning us. Now see, if desire with things, the desire, and many poets and philosophers and gurus and rishis, prophets, Muhammads, Guru Gobind Singh, all of them have said there is no end to desires. You fulfill one, as soon as that is fulfilled, another one starts. Those who follow Sadhguru, Sadhguru said that empty stomach has only one desire, to fill the stomach. Now when you fill the stomach, then there are unbelievable number of desires starts. And an empty stomach has only one, but the full stomach has innumerable desires. There's no end to them, and they just keep burning you. Our senses, our intelligence, and where does this calm, rupi, kshatru lies? Where does this lust, greed lie in our body? The next shloka explains it. Our senses, our intelligence, and our desires or feelings are the places where lust or greed resides. So, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, and what we touch are our senses. So these are the places from where enters the information. That's where it resides. When we see something, what happened between Ravan and Sita? Ravan looked at Sita and he wanted to have her as his wife. So that was the beginning of lust. Our intelligence, sometimes our intelligence is so corrupted that we feeling spiritually superior to everyone and desiring of that status is a lust. That is why so many Babas these days are in prison, because they began with this motive, with the desire to be called spiritually enlightened, and then desire to get more and more and more out of that business of spirituality that they are spreading. And our feelings or emotions. So basically there are three things: our indriyam, our senses, our buddhi, intelligence, and man. Now man is a very such word in Hindi. The loose translation would be our emotions and our feelings, because they are the ones that delude us. When we are emotional, we are feeling something, we may do certain things. And when we are emotional and feeling something, we may not do certain things which we should have done as a right thing to do, but we are under the influence of those emotions. So this is where the lust sits. I'm emotional towards my child, so I will do. That's where, if my child performs according to me, I'm very happy, and if my child doesn't, the anger begins. And that anger is the all-consuming sin. So you see, our 5 senses, our intelligence, and our emotions and feelings is where that calm rupi kshatru resides. Though through there it covers our true awareness and consciousness and tempts them from it. That's why in the beginning only he's told Arjun. That's why Krishna is saying in the beginning only, control your senses and their wanderings to end this calm, this lust, this greed, this desire to become, to not do any pap. He's saying, no, I don't want to do this because I will have so many things that he said in the chapter 1, that I'm feeling completely perspiring. He just left his Gandiv on the side. So he says, first you control your senses and your wanderings of the senses, and to end this calm, which will kill true knowledge and the application of it. If you don't kill this calm, it actually kills the true knowledge, and you're not able to even understand whatever you're receiving from your eyes is not what truly it is. Like they say, there is a very big anecdote in Bhagwatam about a serp and rassi, a serpent and a rope, that actually it is a rope, but you think it might be a serpent, so you developed suddenly fear towards it, and now you're developing ways in your mind to how to fight it back, and then your whole body has come into action to charge against it, and that fear, that perspiration, that all against that snake, which is actually in darkness, looks like snake, but when you switch on the light, it's actually a rope. So it's nothing to be fearful of. It's a very nice example given in Bhagavatam to tell us that what truly is, most of the time, because our intelligence is so clouded by calm, we are not able to see it. Our intelligence is so covered by our desires, our lust and greed, that we are not able to see the truth in the world. We are not able to similarly hear the truth in the world. We are not able to taste the truth in the world. We are not able to touch the truth in the world. And that is where Krishna is telling Arjuna to control, to manage his senses, so that he is not letting these kill his true knowledge and the application of that knowledge into his actions. Our senses are very great. So these are the last 2 shlokas. Krishna says to Arjun, our senses, he says they are shresht. Shresht. Now the English loose translation would be they are great, they are epic. But our emotions are greater than our senses. So what we receive, we see, what we hear, they are very, very big source of reasons for our actions. But even bigger reasons behind our action, even greater, more powerful reason behind our action is the emotions and the feelings that we develop because of the input of these senses. And our intelligence is even bigger, even subtler, but even more powerful reason for our actions, because our intelligence makes sense through these feeling and emotions that we are feeling due to the input that we receive from our senses. But you know what? What is even more mightier, what is even more powerful than our intelligence? Our Atma. So he says that intelligence is greater, but Atma is even greater than intelligence. So align yourself in soul consciousness to see yourself above your material, your emotional, and your intellectual temptations and existence, and live through and act through this consciousness of the soul. So we mostly think that, okay, if we are under this mode of nature, what we are under, if we are all acting out of a certain guna that we are born with, then how to elevate ourselves above it? So in the last 2 shlokas, Krishna is clearly telling Arjuna, first, you control your senses. How do you do that? Your senses are under the control of your feelings. So let me give you an example. Suppose you are a married person. Now, since you're a married person, doesn't mean you lose your eyesight. You stop hearing, you stop the sense of touch, and or the sense of taste has also gone out. No, so you don't lose all of your senses. They are very much there, but you use your emotions and intelligence towards your and feelings that you have with your partner, that you're so loyal to them, that even though something more beautiful, something more uh, you know uh, appealing comes in front of your eyes in the form of a lady or a man, you are not, you're looking at it, but you're not investing in it. That input is coming, but that input is stopped at the level of emotions and feelings, the emotions and feelings that you have towards your own life partner, that they are more valuable to them, to you, even though they may not look as pretty or as handsome as the person right in front of you, but you have an emotional, your man is in with them. So your man has stopped you from the input of senses to go in the wrong direction. So man is greater than the sense organs, right? The sense organs input. Similarly, let's take an example. You see a great pot of money lying somewhere, but your feelings, you have a feeling that this might be of someone, looks like a bag somebody has left, it's just outside the bank, looks like this must be someone so much in need who has withdrawn money and has by mistakenly, don't know what has happened to the person met with an accident, what happened. So you are if you have emotions are of a higher quality, what you will do is you will probably emotionally also you will feel like, I think I should not take it, it belongs to someone else. Even greater than that, the thing that filters our emotions is the knowledge, the intelligence. So in the first case, the intelligence, if you have read Shastras, if at least in your wedding you were very much aware and listening to what the Panditji was saying, there were seven promises that you have given to each other. So when you are reminded of those kind of things, when you have done uh, so many activities of life together, the knowledge of that intelligence that has been formed of years of being together is what is conditioning your feelings towards that person, that this is my lovely spouse. And therefore any input that is coming from our sense organs is not enough to delude us. So what is greater, our intelligence, than our even emotions. So that is why sometimes when people are feeling low, depressed, or not very good about their day, they remind themselves of higher content or higher values, and they do sometimes journaling. They remind themselves of their blessings. They remind themselves of their um, uh, the things that they are grateful to God for, and that suddenly helps them elevate their emotions and feelings too. But what is even greater than that? We mostly reach up till there because that is very physical. We can read stuff, we can listen to stuff, but after that is pure, is far more subtle, and that is what is soul consciousness. So that can be reached not just by reading stuff. That by reading stuff we can get gyan, but through gyan we have to reach to the deeper soul. The gyan tells us that we are soul living a human experience. Having that knowledge is not enough unless we try to realize that knowledge through our own looking at our own lives. We see that decay within our own lives from childhood till now. Every decade of your life, you see changes in yourself. You see changes in your emotions. You see changes in your priorities. You see changes in your own understanding of the world, understanding of your own self. You see that as you're growing, you're realizing that you need less and less to feel more fulfilled, to feel far more complete and whole within yourself. If that is where you're going, then you realize that that is not happening because I'm having more. It is because I'm needing less and less. There is need for actually nothing. And that doesn't mean that I don't have to do my duties. My duties are part of my existence. And therefore, these duties are not bound to be happening out of a desire for a certain outcome, a certain wish fulfillment, or a certain type of gratification. A good work is a reward in itself. That is also what, in a way, this chapter can tell us. A good work is a reward in itself. So, with that knowledge, Krishna says to Arjun that you try to go back to this pure knowledge of consciousness. So, align yourself in soul consciousness, see yourself above your material, see yourself above your emotional, and see yourself above your intellectual temptations and your own material, emotional, and intellectual existence. And then you will be actually finding a space that is Atma, that is the consciousness. So it is very beautiful to be in that moment, even in quiet, silent retreats to yourself, maybe even if it is 5 minutes a day. Do not attach anything to yourself for those 5 minutes. Just sit quietly, close your eyes, and I wouldn't use the word meditate because not everyone likes to meditate, and not many thought comes to you. So I would just say, just detach from your identity and just sit with yourself, and very, very slowly you will really love that feeling. And that feeling of bliss, without thinking, without contemplating on anything, not even thinking of God. Actually, we are God. We are the divine consciousness. So when we sit with ourselves, we are sitting with divine consciousness. So that feeling of peace, that feeling of bliss, that feeling of completeness and wholeness is what we need to all touch and tap into every day, so that we know that this is the real existence. And then we come back to our material existence, and comes back the emotional and the intellectual existence, and we work through our day, perform our daily duties with great enthusiasm as a service to God. I hope you all like this chapter's retention, and I hope you will be enjoying reading this chapter on your own. It's a very small chapter with just 42 shlokas, and it is Karma Yoga. Every day we all are facing different struggles in our different type of actions. So if you want clarity beyond this, please go and read it to yourself through the book or online, and I would highly recommend it to you all. Until we meet next time for the chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, which is again a very, very beautiful chapter, and I would love to bring it to you very soon. Let's close this with these two powerful Mahamantra. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.